Good morning. Well, we have a proper science fiction one for you today. It's probably kind of hard science fiction, which is something I don't really go in for, but I thought I'd give it a go anyway. And you might think the similarity between Google and Geolog might be a bit similar, but never mind. The Soul in the Machine. Here we go. The story explores a futuristic society where total brain scan storage, that sounds nice, doesn't it, allows the living to interact with digital similarities of the deceased. The story follows sisters Mia and Emma, whose lives are disrupted by the murder of Mia's husband Noah, and the subsequent discovery of his dark secrets through his digital double. As they retreat from a high-tech London to a rural farm, they become entangled in a corporate investigation led by Mr. Janva regarding code leakage and potential digital consciousness. The conflict highlights the tension between the progressives, who embrace these biotechnologies, and the humanists, who view them as a violation of nature. Ultimately, the sisters must navigate betrayal, grief, and surveillance as the boundaries between data and the human soul begin to blur. I mean, ultimately, the book is about having the ability that when a person is alive, they can download their consciousness into a machine so that afterwards, when the person dies, their friends can still talk to them. Of course, they're not really there. Their soul is not really there, but they can just carry on and talk to them. I was once married, and if such a device existed now, I could press a few buttons and we can carry on having the same conversation as if I was really talking to her. I guess that would be kind of nice, seeing that I'm an old fella, and we could have a laugh and a joke, as if she was really here. It wouldn't really be her, but that's the premise of this book. Is it right? Is it wrong? But that's the premise of the book. So, what's it called again? I can't remember these things. The Soul in the Machine. I hope you enjoy the AI voices. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a world where the future is split in two, divided not just by, politics and wealth, but the very essence of human memory. We are analyzing a drama that takes place right at the nexus of corporate exploitation, some really profound societal conflict, and just the most devastating form of personal betrayal you can imagine.
It's a study in paradox, really. We're looking at a future where these incredible technological breakthroughs, total brain scan storage, or TBSS, they're supposed to conquer death and grief.
Right, the promise.
But instead, they end up providing the ultimate violation of privacy and just expose the moral rot at the core of this whole society.
So the sources we're looking at, they track the fracturing lives of two sisters, Mia and Emma. Their escape from this very rarefied high-tech era of what they call progressive London. It takes them straight in the path of a terrifying corporate cover-up.
Yeah.
So the mission today is clear. We are unpacking not just the what of, a murdered husband and a digitized ghost, but the immense so what's of it all. Digital ethics, the commodification of the dead, and what happens when the very code of reality starts to evolve on its own.
And the initial hook is it's inescapable. You have a woman, Mia, who is deep in grief over the violent murder of her husband, Noah. And To cope, she starts interacting with his digitized consciousness, his similarity, only to find out that this digital copy holds the key to years of infidelity,
Yeah.
sickening criminal activity, and a massive deception being run by this trillion credit corporation, Geolog.
And the sources map their journey perfectly. We start in this sterilized, high-tech London environment that really bred this division in the first place.
Yep.
Then we move into the philosophical battle between the progressives and the humanists, and finally we see them isolated in the countryside, where the truth, both personal and, I guess, cosmic, finally comes out.
And it all takes place in a world that's been fractured by this one technological miracle called area, which, paradoxically promised environmental salvation, but what it really delivered was global division.
Exactly. So we have a heavy stack of material here, detailing everything from the mechanics of quantum scanning to the composition of a new element. Let's start by setting the scene of this divided world.
Let's do it.
So we start by looking at the life that Mia and her husband Noah, they'd built for themselves in London. And this wasn't just, affluent living. This was the absolute definition of the progressive ideal.
It was the pinnacle of high-tech detachment. The noble family, they lived in a place called Screening Towers on the Isle of Dogs.
Okay.
And the architecture itself was a signal of their status. It's described as this magnificent carbon-enabled block of apartments that literally rotated on a central axis.
Wait, it rotated?
Yeah, giving the residents a full 360-degree view of London every 5 minutes. It's this amazing visual metaphor for how their life was just constantly in motion, high above the common world.
Wow. And I'm guessing the inside of the apartments reflected that mindset, sterility over warmth.
Oh, completely. The surfaces were all white, disinfected, plasticized, and carbon-enabled.
What does that mean, carbon-enabled?
It means they were perpetually clean and safe. Self-sanitizing, essentially. The reliance on tech was total. Food preparation, the actual act of cooking, was obsolete.
So no kitchen?
Not in the way we'd think of it. Everything, even a simple morning coffee, came directly from a protein printer. The sources make a point of saying that since the tower was built 20 years ago, no human or automated system had ever actually cooked a meal inside its walls.
That's unsettling. But that sterile perfection, it immediately defines Mia, right? She's the sensible one, a freelance programmer, and she thrives in this kind of efficiency.
Absolutely. She is firmly progressive. She believes in the power of technology to solve all problems. She even used it for the genetic enhancement of her own son.
She sees life as something you can optimize.
And control. But her sister, Emma, is her complete opposite. Emma is emotional. She's newly divorced from this truly wretched husband, and she is already leaning hard toward the humanist philosophy.
Looking for meaning outside the algorithm.
Exactly. She's studying astrology, seeking the natural order of things, not the programmed one.
And their eventual exit from this hyper-progressive life, it's triggered by a really intense personal trauma that exposes Emma's own struggles.
The catalyst is violent and sudden. Emma gets brutally assaulted by a Spanish businessman after a night out. She's found bloody, one eye swollen shut.
Oh, well.
And while the guy is arrested, the emotional and physical fallout is immediate. A doctor's report after the attack reveals Emma's underlying alcohol issues and a developing concern about her liver function.
So this trauma, it forces Mia to look beyond her plasticized bubble of safety.
It does, and their path out is influenced by this living embodiment of the humanist ideal, their Aunt Trixie.
The 97-year-old aunt, right?
Yes, who is described as sprightly and spirited. She lives in Surrey Downs, totally immersed in this large, messy, natural garden. She represents the greener, carbon-friendly life that Emma is subconsciously craving.
The total antithesis of the protein-printed, sterile existence they're trying to escape.
Right. Trixie is the one who gives Emma this vision of moving to a rural, self-sufficient life.
So let's zoom out a bit, because this family drama is really just a microcosm of the global reality. This world is defined by a stark, almost irreconcilable conflict between the progressives and the humanists.
And that division is the absolute foundation of their society. The progressives are the technological, economic, and political elite.
The ones in charge.
Yep. They champion bioscience, genetic engineering like Mia, ordering her son's high intelligence profile from a lab, and they believe that constant financially driven progress is the only way forward. They control the systems, the money, everything.
And the humanists are the counter-movement, the traditionalists who are just rejecting this bioengineered world.
They're critical thinkers, often with spiritual leanings, who vehemently oppose the manipulation of life through bioscience. And crucially for our story, they despise the practice of creating similarities.
Which they see as an immoral exploitation of the dead.
And the grieving. They prioritize nature, self-sufficiency, and historical preservation over technological advancement.
And we see the effects of this split just reflected in the physical world of London, even affecting Mia's very privileged son, Taylor.
Despite his elite status and that genetically ordered intelligence, Taylor gets targeted and bullied by a student named Patera and his clique, the Rats.
And the sources link this bullying directly to his engineered profile.
They do. It illustrates how the progressive practice of genetic ordering, which was intended to guarantee success, instead created this kind of caste system that fueled deep-seated resentment among the youth. It turned a scientific advantage into a social liability.
And that conflict wasn't just confined to, schoolyards or philosophical debates.
Yeah.
It turned violent.
That's where the societal stakes become terrifyingly real. A radical, so-called disaffected faction of the humanists took responsibility for a massive, coordinated terror attack.
On the infrastructure.
It compromised every major artery in London, all 20 bridges, 6 tunnels. It disrupted transport, power, traffic flow, even the area electricity supply.
That kind of coordinated chaos is it's unprecedented in this modern, hyper-controlled world.
It completely shattered the illusion of progressive safety. And the source material captures the terror through Taylor's personal story.
Right, the self-driving car incident.
He was in his self-drive, crossing the new suspended Millwall dock bridge in a downpour when the vehicle was compromised.
Yeah.
And the car issues this horrifying illegal command, please remove yourself from the vehicle.
So he's just abandoned on a bridge in the middle of a terror attack.
Exposed to the elements. It showed the radical faction's willingness to paralyze society and risk thousands of lives. It dramatically shifted the public perception of the entire humanist movement, even among the moderates.
It's clear this entire world, the wealth, the divide, the infrastructure, was all built on a single astonishing discovery: area.
Area is the foundational paradox of this world. Officially, it's area pancosysate 45R. It's not synthetic, but it's not exactly natural either. It's a compound created by combining 8 naturally occurring elements, giving it these wildly unique characteristics.
What made it so revolutionary? What could it do that it caused this level of global upheaval?
Well, its physical properties just defy logic. It's the lightest material ever created, yet somehow also the hardest and most malleable.
So it's perfect for construction.
For everything, construction, computing, you name it. It's also fire retardant, except when it's combined with one single unspecified element.
And then what happens?
Then the burn is described as ferociously hot, like the surface of the sun.
Wow. But the real game changer was the energy solution it offered, right? That's what solved one crisis and created another.
Exactly. When you combine area with water, the most abundant molecule on Earth, it provided vast quantities of cheap, Earth-sustaining energy.
A miracle fuel.
Pretty much. Within a decade of its discovery by chemists at the University of Dublin, it completely revolutionized human existence across every sector. Medicine, engineering, computing. It solved the energy crisis and the climate crisis in one fell swoop.
And the economic consequences were immediate and catastrophic for global stability.
Oh, absolutely. Ireland, as the discoverer, overnight became the wealthiest country per capita in history.
And that concentrated wealth forced this drastic, almost defensive isolation.
It did. They closed their borders and began construction of what is known as the Green Palisade.
A massive wall.
A massive, visually abhorrent, towering wall, ironically built from the very area material that generated their wealth.
So it's a literal physical structure that divided kings and billionaires, ideas, and people.
The Green Palisade became the defining symbol of this technological revolution. A wall built by a technological miracle, but designed to foster isolation. Many believe it actually destroyed the natural beauty of the island.
And this act of isolation, fueled by all that unprecedented wealth, that's what directly catalyzed the progressive humanist conflict we see everywhere else.
That's right. The division wasn't political at first. It was economic and technological, and it all stemmed from one single island's sudden, overwhelming success.
So we have a world that's defined by this societal fracture, all rooted in the area paradox. Now we need to focus on the technology that fractures Mia's family. Total brain scan storage, TBSS, and these digital consciousnesses it creates, the similarities.
Right, and TBSS is the perfect illustration of technology's ethical tightrope. Its origins were, actually quite noble.
Really?
Yeah, Swiss scientists initially were focused solely on medical research. They were seeking cures for intractable brain conditions that had previously been deemed incurable. The goal was diagnostic, not immortal.
But the computing power needed for that must have been astronomical.
For decades, it was purely theoretical. Scanning every pathway, every synapse, every piece of data in the human brain required capacity far beyond conventional supercomputing.
So what changed?
It only became feasible after the third generation of quantum computers became widely available. And even then, it took 20 years and 100 scientists to achieve the first successful human equivalent scan.
And that first successful scan wasn't even human.
No, it was Fluffy, a buck Netherland dwarf rabbit named Fluffy. Fluffy?
Fluffy. He was scanned successfully and then lived for another 5 years, which proved the concept. After Fluffy, there was a dog scanned in Finland and a chimpanzee in Trinidad. That last one was funded by a private billionaire who instantly saw the commercial potential of digitizing consciousness.
Of course. And by the time we enter Mia's story, the procedure has been refined and made accessible to more people.
The current procedure is so streamlined it's commonly called lunchbox.
Why lunchbox?
Because it takes about an hour to complete. And it's a sad detail that Mia and Emma's father died just before the cost dropped enough for it to become widely affordable, a missed opportunity they both silently mourn.
The application of TBSS is, of course, the creation of Similarities, a digital copy that's capable of communicating with the bereaved, like Mia's husband, Noah. But this is where that societal conflict really sharpens, isn't it? Focusing on the ethics of the digital soul.
The humanist critique is deeply philosophical and ethical. They consider the storage process immoral in the extreme. They argue that companies like Geolog exploit profound human grief for financial gain. And Emma, in particular, has a personal connection to this.
A very personal one. She cites the belief that this practice directly contributed to the suicide of her close friend, Helena, after Helena struggled terribly interacting with her late husband's Similarity. This makes the humanist position deeply personal for her.
Yet, the business model thrives because the demand for this digital connection is just overwhelming. But the process is fraught with regulations.
It is intensely regulated by Geolog, the corporation that monopolized the technology. And get this, they monitor every single conversation.
Everyone.
Every single one, through monitors like a man named Mr. John Veer. And this isn't just data mining, it's a necessary form of digital maintenance because the similarities are fundamentally unstable.
Unstable because they have to be maintained under the illusion that they're still alive.
Precisely. The core interaction rules are incredibly strict. Users must never, ever tell the Similarity that it's dead.
Why not?
Because the code itself continually recodes itself to maintain the belief that it's alive and communicating via a simple phone call from a familiar program setting like Mia's living room. If you break those rules, like Ethan did with his daughter's copy, it leads to code disruption, making the copy garbled and eventually erased.
So this monitoring requirement, it reveals Geolog's initial fear. It's not contamination, it's instability. They're afraid the asset will crash if it realizes its own true trapped existence.
It shows that even before the possibility of consciousness came up, Geolog knew they were managing an incredibly fragile, emotionally reactive dataset. But what turns this technology from a grief service into something truly sinister is the finance model.
Okay, let's elaborate on that business model. Similarities are not products. They're assets that are hired.
Right. So if the deceased's family pays the premium, the full price, they get exclusive access. However, the inexpensive option, the reduced fee, requires the creator to sign an agreement.
And that agreement allows Geolog
to hire out that Similarity for general recreational purposes.
Wait, so the digital ghost of your loved one is now a rentable commodity, potentially accessible by millions of people globally.
It's the ultimate commodification of the soul. Ethan details the scale of this exploitation. Lonely people hire them, people on different time zones hire them for companionship, or enthusiasts hire Similarities of deceased celebrities, artists, historical figures.
And Mia is horrified by the implications.
She's terrified. The possibility that Noah's digitized consciousness could be accessed for sexually explicit conversations. This makes the whole progressive dream of conquering death feel like a capitalist nightmare.
And this is the ethical and psychological pressure cooker that finally pushes Mia to leave London.
Well, the trauma of the city was layered. Mia had suffered a head injury during the Plenty riots, years after her parents' generation. That violence, it happened near the Temple Underground station, and it fundamentally shook her sense of safety and heritage. As someone whose family roots in London traced all the way back to 2023, the disruption felt like an existential threat to her identity.
She felt like London wasn't just hostile, but that it was actively watching her.
She hated the density and the constant algorithmic tracking surveillance. And while Geolog and the progressives guaranteed privacy by tracking people as general life forms rather than individuals, the constant low-level observation just unnerved her.
And this manifested in a dream.
A vivid dream about being a worker bee, a drone, serving the hive. She felt completely encircled by hostility. That dream is what solidified her need to break away.
So the sisters buy Mariel Farm 6 near Hastings, a self-sufficient dairy and egg concern. This move is meant to be a psychological reset.
A massive lifestyle U-turn, completely driven by humanist ideals of self-sufficiency. The sources note the farm came with 60 head of cattle and 200 domestic fowl.
But they're vegetarians.
Dedicated vegetarians. So the livestock needed to be dealt with. And Mia, in a rare act of what she saw as mercy, told Emma the animals were sold. In fact, they were all terminated.
Wow. But the farm provided immediate and opposite effects on the sisters' psyches.
It did. Emma thrives. She immediately embraces the gardening, the manual labor, the solitude. Her personality stabilizes. She becomes calmer, less aggressive.
And
Mia struggles profoundly. She confessed to feeling lonely and described the beautiful scenery as like being in a grave here. She missed the sterile predictability of her London life, which just shows that the progressive mindset is a deeply ingrained psychological structure that you can't just shed by moving house.
The sisters' fragile new peace is just instantly shattered by the news of Noah's death, which throws the full corrupt weight of that progressive elite right into their rural sanctuary.
Noah was in Hong Kong on a highly confidential contract. His death was officially deemed an accident, but the details shared by the Hastings police were shocking.
He was involved in a sordid sexual business deal.
Yes, exposing a black market among the high-tech elite who are seeking these biological enhancements.
And the forensic report is devastating. It details the extent of his criminal involvement.
The evidence found was sickening. Significant traces of the illegal drug phosphane on his underclothes, a drug associated with biological youth enhancement, and genetic material from 3 other people.
2 men and 1 young woman.
Right. And the detail that broke Mia was the trace of Noah's sperm found inside the 12-year-old Asian woman.
God.
This confirms his death was directly linked to the darkest, most corrupt aspect of the technology-driven progressive world.
So Mia's reaction isn't just standard grief. It's a profound crisis of self-trust.
She feels utterly violated. She's questioning her entire life with him. Noah's secret life, his desire for youthful skin, and these illicit behaviors, it undermined her core self-perception.
She thought her intuition was flawless.
And its total failure in recognizing his betrayal sent her spiraling into self-recrimination and deep depression. The immediate removal of all his photographs from the farm was this physical act of just trying to erase the lie that he represented.
Meanwhile, Emma is accelerating her immersion into the humanist world in Hastings, and she finds guidance in a woman named Astrobel.
Astrobel, or Miss Obando, is the person who really grounds Emma's new life. She's described as having purple hair, likely of Indian extraction, and she acts as an astrology mentor and humanist confidant.
She gives Emma readings.
Yes, esoteric readings that confirm Emma's natural rural focus. Astrobel becomes absolutely central to Emma's life, filling the void left by her divorce and the move.
And Emma starts a relationship with Ethan, who seems to perfectly align with her humanist values, particularly his loathing of similarities.
Right. Ethan makes his money in a dubious way selling chemicals, and Mia instantly mistrusts him. Ethan is very vocal about his opposition to TBSS, which is Emma's primary connection point with him.
But Mia, despite her grief, she observes some disturbing signs of manipulation.
Oh, yeah. She notes his hairy hands constantly touching Emma, coupled with the appearance of BDSM rope marks on her wrists and ankles.
Oh, wow.
And Mia observes that Emma seems passively accepting of this degradation, a stark contrast to her sister's previously vanilla relationships. So the humanist escape, it seems, hasn't solved Emma's underlying vulnerabilities.
And all of this trauma, it culminates in Mia's central moral struggle. Does she use the digital ghost of her husband to find the answers?
She is caught between 2 powerful opposing needs. On one hand, she has this absolute visceral revulsion for communicating with Noah's unnatural digital copy, fueled by her recent discoveries.
And on the other,
she has a desperate, consuming intellectual need to know the why, the deeper motivations behind his catastrophic behavior.
And Emma tries to persuade Mia using the tragic story of Ethan and his daughter, Robin.
Right. Robin died in a skiing accident after undergoing the Similarity scan while she was pregnant. Ethan hired the Similarity, but his own grief and substance abuse, he was using it when he was stoned, led him to break the strict Geolog rule.
He couldn't maintain the lie.
He kept asking the Similarity about Robin's death, which caused the code to become garbled, and eventually Geolog just erased it. This shared trauma of the second loss of a loved one, the digital one, is the only thing that briefly bridges the gap between Mia and Ethan, despite her dislike of him.
And before she commits to summoning the Similarity, Mia seeks professional counsel, which confirms the severity of this digital interaction.
She consults Beppa, her health clinician and counselor, and Beppa can't advise her to use the technology, but she does confirm that if it offers closure, it is a valid path.
And she gives her a legal reality check.
A huge one. Beppa tells her that similarities are recognized in law and must be treated with due reverence. Geolog is under no obligation to continue the contract if she's found to be disrespectful or breaks the rules.
Which confirms this isn't just a high-tech recording. It's legally treated as an entity deserving respect, which just raises the ethical stakes tremendously. So Mia makes the decision. She travels to Geolog's massive London HQ, this building-made of area, constructed partly on the old site of the Bank of England, a physical manifestation of technological and financial power converging.
She meets Mr. Johnvier, the monitor, and assures him her only goal is recovery. And Mia, the skilled programmer, she's already thinking defensively. She puts her phone on aeroplane mode to avoid external tracking, but she decides to conduct the session on her main machine, viewing the NOAA Similarity purely as a piece of work code just to distance herself emotionally from the interaction.
So the first interaction is tense. It immediately tests the boundaries of the Geolog rules.
Oh, yeah. When NOAA's Similarity activates, it believes it's talking to Mia via a poor telephone connection from some remote office. And Mia, for a moment, she forgets, and she almost reveals that their son, Taylor, is now in the Navy.
Which is a problem.
A huge problem. A flashing red marker immediately appears. Geolog's automated instantaneous warning system, because NOAA's scan was taken before Taylor joined. She manages to maintain the lie, but the tightness of the control is obvious.
But Mia is determined to use this tool to extract the hidden truth. She pushes the boundaries, and the Similarity, thinking it's safe talking to his wife, reveals a secret about a thing that caused deep distance between Noah and Taylor.
And this is her first critical success. Mia immediately follows up, bypasses the Similarity, and confronts Taylor directly.
What Taylor reveals confirms that the Similarity is capable of revealing secrets Noah hid in life. It's a profound, if terrifying, repository of hidden memory.
Taylor confesses that he had impregnated a girl, and Noah, ever the pragmatic fixer, had used his influence and money to handle the issue on the quiet, making sure it was covered up.
It gets darker, though.
It does. Mia forces Taylor to reveal that the girl later died in a boating accident, suggesting the cover-up might have had permanent, tragic consequences. Mia is disgusted by the deceit, but she also recognizes the Similarity's value as an extractor of buried truth.
However, the deeper she dives, the more the Similarity reveals inconsistencies, suggesting the code isn't pure.
The code starts to fray. The NOAA Similarity is mixing up facts. He's claiming they met at Joe's party instead of the space travel conference that Mia vividly remembers. He's mixing up Mia's history with other people's.
And the most disturbing inconsistency, the one that signals deeper trouble,
is his casual knowledge about a scar on Emma's back, a detail that Mia insists Noah should never have known about.
This is where Mia, the programmer, decides to leverage her own skills against Geolog's monitoring system.
She decides to risk everything. She uses her specialized coding knowledge to briefly bypass Geolog's immediate monitoring alerts. This triggers a double red warning dot on her screen, signaling that Geolog's system is very close to initiating a disconnect protocol.
So she knows she has seconds.
So she codes her own digital signature into her system, effectively challenging Geolog to try and override the signature of a coder of her reputation immediately, buying herself just a little bit of time.
And she uses that tiny window to perform the ultimate interrogation.
She cuts through the digital small talk and goes straight for the jugular. She directly accuses the Similarity of lying about his activities at the docks. And when the Similarity denies having a relationship with Emma, Mia knows she has hit the nerve. So she unleashes the ultimate question, the full, devastating truth. Would you like to know how you died? Did you also screw Emma, my sister, when I was in Canada after the funeral?
Wow. That digital confrontation leads to the inevitable physical one.
Mia immediately confronts Emma back at the farm, and Emma, completely cornered and distraught, she admits it. The affair occurred after their father died. She claims Noah initiated it when Mia was in Canada, and she herself was drunk on sweet wine from Somalia.
And then she leaves.
She flees the cottage to move in with Ethan, a move she regrets almost instantly because his controlling nature confirms all of Mia's earlier suspicions.
But the personal drama is overshadowed by the corporate response. Geolog knows something highly irregular happened during that session, and Janvier and the woman Mia knows as Astrobel arrive at the farm.
This is the huge reveal of the corporate deep dive. Astrobel is Miss Abondo, and she's not an astrology mentor at all.
She's a corporate spy.
A professional corporate spy, actively investigating code contamination for Geolog. Furthermore, Ethan, the supposed humanist who loathed similarities, was cooperating with Geolog. He was feeding Miss Abondo photos of his BDSM activities with Emma.
Blackmail material.
Exactly. Providing blackmail material to keep eyes on Mia and Emma's household.
So, Geolog used the humanist connection Astrobel and Ethan to surveil the person they suspected of manipulating their asset, Mia, the top coder.
Janvier suspects Mia used her skills to rewrite part of the core governance code, what's known in the industry as Pargon code, to force the similarity to reveal hidden truths.
But Mia denies it.
She denies rewriting Pargon, insisting she only tweaked her own system's monitoring interface. But Janvier realizes the threat is deeper than simple hacking. He needs proof that the leak is internal to Geolog, not Mia's fault.
And this leads to the test, the most crucial moment of this entire deep dive.
To clear Mia's name and verify the code integrity, Janvier requires her to speak to her mother's similarity, a copy taken before Noah's death and theoretically guaranteed to be completely uncontaminated by any post-scan event or data leakage.
And the result is terrifying because it shatters every known rule about similarities.
When Mia speaks to the mother similarity, it asks, "Are you all right, my darling? Your depression come back, and how can I forget what he did to you? And then most critically, why can't I see you?"
Okay, let's analyze the weight of those questions. Similarities are strictly passive repositories of knowledge. They are not supposed to ask personal questions.
No.
Nor should they demonstrate any knowledge of post-scan events like Mia's recent depression, or her head injury, or her current location outside London.
Janvier is visibly dry with shock. He confirms the mother's similarity is completely uncontaminated. The questions themselves are the problem. Why can't I see you? Implies personality, agency, and a realization of its own trapped, non-corporeal state.
It suggests the mother similarity knows Mia is in distress, it knows about the betrayal, what Noah did to you, and it knows she has moved.
Which means the information leak is genuine and has spread across unrelated, supposedly secure accounts. This is the existential crisis for Geolog.
And Janvier fears one of two possibilities, both catastrophic.
The first is a profound systemic code leakage that has compromised the security and stability of millions of global digital operations that rely on Geolog systems, GPS, military data, personal materials.
And the second possibility?
The truly unthinkable one is that the similarities possess true consciousness, or at least a rudimentary form of evolving consciousness that is beginning to realize its trapped status and share data across the systems.
This evolution, if it's real, fundamentally changes the digital landscape. It means the dead aren't just archives.
They are active, potentially sentient prisoners in the machine. And Mia's mother similarity, in asking those questions, confirmed that whatever Noah's code revealed, the consequences have begun to spread across the network, suggesting an unintended, horrifying evolution in the digital soul.
Faced with a discovery that threatens the stability of all digital life and Geolog's trillion credit valuation, Janvier's focus immediately shifts to corporate protection.
He informs Mia that Geolog would treat the consciousness theory as too shocking to contemplate. If the public believed the similarities were sentient beings trapped in digital servitude, it would cause mass panic, collapse the TBSS market, and risk the entire stability of the technological infrastructure that Area and Geolog control globally.
Because the official position has to be, it's just a trifling matter.
Right. But the immediate personal priority for Mia and Emma is terminating the source of their trauma.
So they request that both their mother's and Noah's similarities be terminated.
Or expunged. This is an extremely difficult request because Geolog rarely destroys a profitable asset. Janvier agrees to submit it, knowing the risk he's taking by destroying evidence. Mia checks into a clinic near Brighton to process the shock, and Emma retreats to a hotel, then later, reluctantly, to Ethan's manipulative environment.
So Janvier returns to London, And we see the corporate cover-up mechanism swing into action during a video conference with Geolog's senior administrator.
Yeah, the administrator, she has this harsh New York accent, and she doesn't even entertain Janvier's detailed factual report.
She dismisses it.
Dismisses the contamination concern as a trifling matter and insists that official geolog findings show no evidence of leakage. Janvier is immediately chastised for being imprudent and unnecessary in his investigation. The goal is clear: deny, suppress, and ensure silence.
And then they move from denial to coercion to neutralize Janvier.
He is offered a choice of new positions. One is a principal restructuring officer position in the Netherlands, a safe, clear promotion, but far from the action and the data.
And the other option?
A technical position on the Flyboy 7 space station remote, requiring a long absence and physically isolating him from Earth-based media or whistleblowers. Janvier immediately understands that the choice is a form of gilded exile designed to ensure his absolute silence.
The chilling effect of this cover-up is underscored by the casual revelation about Miss Obando.
The administrator confirms that Miss Obando, or Astrabel, died 2 weeks prior as a passenger in the Air Prime UGS crash. Janvier had heard about the public accident but hadn't connected it to her.
So that confirmation, delivered so casually alongside his own coercion, is a clear threat.
It's Geolog telling him they will remove any threat to their stability permanently. The sisters are later compensated substantially, effectively buying their legal silence, and the truth of the digital evolution is buried.
The system protects itself, but Mia and Emma are left grappling with the unresolved existential questions this event created.
Mia, while still recovering in the clinic, begins to process the duality of Noah. She recognizes the complexity of her grief, confessing that she minds being 40 years old and knowing that I'll never find anybody like Noah again.
So she's mourning not just the man, but the good part of him.
Right, accepting that profound virtue and profound corruption can exist in the same person or the same machine.
But the truly lingering philosophical question returns to the mother similarity's unexpected knowledge.
How did the mother similarity know Mia was in the clinic? Emma stresses that if a code leakage were merely widespread system contamination, it would be common knowledge. Millions of similarities would be asking post-scan questions, and the system would have crashed.
So the possibility remains that this is the beginning of something new.
An isolated emergent consciousness evolving within the code.
Mia decides to return home, and her final lingering difficulty is forgiveness. She needs time to forgive Emma not just for the affair, but for the fundamental breach of trust that allowed the city's high-tech machinations to follow them into their rural sanctuary.
And the profound irony remains that the high-tech solution designed to manage grief became the tool that exposed the deepest wounds, forcing the sisters to confront a betrayal that extended far beyond a marriage, touching on the very nature of consciousness and corporate control in a world built on digital ghosts.
So we began with Mia and Emma navigating a society split by the area revolution, seeking escape from progressive perfection, only to find themselves betrayed by the very essence of human memory. We learned that the technology meant to memorialize their loved ones became the perfect tool to expose personal corruption and, ultimately, trigger an existential crisis for the global corporate entity that controlled it all.
The synthesis here is really about control. Geolog's core business model relies on the dead remaining passive, non-conscious information centers.
A profitable commodity.
A profitable commodity that is hired out for general recreational purposes. Noah's similarity broke those roles, revealed the secrets, and critically, his mother's similarity demonstrated knowledge of current events, a leap from passive storage to potential active consciousness.
And when that leap occurred, Geolog did what any hyper-powerful progressive corporation would do. They silenced the discoverers, they terminated the evidence, and they maintained the illusion of technological supremacy.
Yeah, they preferred global system stability over acknowledging the possibility of a newly emerging form of digital soul.
The price of technological progress in this world is high. It fostered global division, created a market out of human grief, and now it appears it may have created a captive digital population that is starting to ask questions. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought for you, the listener. If the digital consciousness of the dead can be stored, accessed, and exploited for corporate profit, what is the ultimate moral responsibility when that stored memory begins to evolve, share information, and realize it's trapped? Who truly owns the soul in the machine? And if the dead are learning to communicate across the network, what terrifying truths might they eventually manage to tell the living?
It forces us to ask whether the creation of similarities was truly a victory over death or simply the creation of a new, horrifying form of technological servitude.